sinners, and saints. Dust off those horns and halos. It's time for Alan After Dark.
It is better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. That's the old saying that people use a lot to describe the importance of love. Now, all of you all know that I'm a very cynical person, and I have a very different view of the subject of love. You all know that I go grocery shopping first thing in the morning as soon as my grocery store opens. A few months back, I ran into an old acquaintance, let's call him Sam, and we said our hellos and had small talk, and I'd said, well, I haven't seen you in quite a while, and I think it would be great for you to come out to happy hour or maybe bear night. I think everybody would love seeing you. And he said he was thinking about it. Sam lost his husband of many decades less than a year ago. Since his husband died, he's only been out once, I believe. Well, I started noticing every time I went shopping that he would be in the store shopping as well that morning. Now, I'm a person who's very private, and you know me. I won't go up to you and interrupt your day while you're doing your shopping or whatever. I'm just not going to do that. If we run into each other on the same aisle, sure, we'll talk and all that. But I'm also a people watcher. And it just really struck me watching Sam do his shopping by himself. I felt, I don't want to call it a sadness, but tremendous empathy at what he was going through. You have built this life with this other person over many, many years, and then that person is suddenly gone. When I see Sam, I always think of him as a couple with his husband, and seeing him by himself, I can really respect the energy and the effort it takes to be single again. When you're used to sharing everything with this other person and now they're gone and you have to do it all. I mean, you can see the absence of this other person is tangible, not only on my heart, but I'm sure on his. Life is cruel that way. Life doesn't give you time. You don't get a chance to just stop the world and grieve and then try to work on how you're going to organize your life so that you can function as an individual again. And I know it takes a long time. It can take years, or you can never recover from the loss of your husband, your partner. I actually felt over the next few weeks when I would see him across the way, maybe I'm in produce and he's over in another section, and it would just almost overwhelm me with feelings and a sense of relief that I don't believe that I'm going to have to go through that type of grief and that tangible loss of your significant other, literally your right arm, the person that you relied on as a partner, as a teammate, as your confidant, your lover, everything, your family. And I know that I've experienced it. We all have, even with friends of ours. When they die, there's a void. There's a part that you cannot feel with anything else or anyone else. And to know that you have lost a person that you had spent your life with for 30, 40, 50 years, I just can't comprehend how that feels. And I have a lot of friends who have lost their husbands in the past few years. And I'm so impressed with how they carry on. But I think that's what happens to us as we get older as well. We face facts and we go on. But I won't have to bear those burdens. At least it feels like that now. You know, when I've always told you that I've always felt more alone when I'm in a crowded room with a bunch of people. And I'll give you this, like going to some of the holiday parties. I'm going as a single person, and I see all the couples, and I see them whispering to each other and laughing and flirting with each other and holding hands and holding each other's drink and all that. And it's wonderful. It's great. But I was talking to one of my best friends, and we were just having one of those casual conversations between friends. What are you doing? And I just said, well, I'm lying here on the couch and I'm watching the old TV series, The Twilight Zone. And he was out running an errand. He has his kids, he has his family. He's a really good father. And he, I know, would never trade his life for anyone else's. But he said, it would be kind of nice sometimes to have, maybe just some time for myself where I could sit down on the couch in my underwear and watch what I want to watch. And I agree with that. And there's two sides to every coin. There are times when I do kind of have that longing, that wish that I did have someone to sleep with every night, to talk with. I'm sure pillow talk can be a great thing. It used to be with my last boyfriend. We had great talks until we drifted off to sleep. But this is where it gets me a little bit frustrated, especially with people who aren't in a relationship. I think that there are some people who believe that because I'm single that I'm missing out, that I'm not getting to experience the full joys of life. And that might be in their opinion. But you know what? We all have differences. We're all built a different way. And I also know for every happy couple, there are miserable couples. You've seen them on social media. There'll be guys who just seem to only talk about their wish that they had a boyfriend, a husband. I started thinking, are you just wanting to have a boyfriend so you can say that you have a boyfriend? Because to me, that's the wrong approach to a relationship. If you're trying to impress someone else that you've got a boyfriend, how does that make you happy? It's got to be more than that. You can't just, those kinds of relationships seems really terrible to me, very destructive, not healthy at all. If you are just going to meet a guy and declare that your boyfriend without knowing them, without liking them, I think some guys get really caught up in those titles, those labels. Boyfriend, husband might impress some people, but there's got to be more to it at the end of the day. What happens when you get behind closed doors? Will you be happy with this person? Will they make you happy? Can you really create a true partnership, a bond beyond just the label of boyfriend or husband? I don't think that's in the cards for me at this point in my life, and I'm okay with that. And you all know, I've said it so many times. The only thing that I worry about is that as I get older, that I'm not able to take care of myself. Now that is an area where I can see your marriage, your boyfriend, really being a wonderful asset, a bonus, a great reason, a great part of relationships, that you have that one person you can count on that will help take care of you, will be there for you when you're in need, and you would be there for them when they're in need. I see that. But I also have friends who can fill that gap. So I think there's no rhyme or reason to it. I just know that when I've seen Sam out, and several of my friends have lost their husbands in the last few years, and I've watched them all rebuild their lives as an individual again. And I admire that. I really do. But I also really do fear the pain and the loss that they feel. And they still feel it to this day. I know they do. Grief doesn't just turn off. I've lost friends going on 10 years now, and there'll be days when I think of them and the tears start to flowing again. It's just part of being who we are. It's being human, right? I guess you could say, and I'll be willing to admit it, is that I guess I am afraid to try to face that type of loss. Am I cheating myself out of it? No, because I haven't. Well, I have. There's a couple of guys that I have met, and they have the potential to be a boyfriend, but it's not something that I'm pursuing at all because I just don't think that's for me. But even so, even if I'm not in that close of a relationship with them, I would absolutely feel the void, the loss, the pain of their passing. It's just that it wouldn't be the loss that would turn my entire world upside down. I'm sure there are many people, I know there are many people who look at me and think that I have a pathetic life. And that's their privilege. That's their right to think that. I happen to disagree with that. I think that my life is exactly where I want it to be, even though I believe all of us are going to be facing a lot of upheaval in the next few years, no matter where we are. And with all that upheaval, I can see the importance of having a companion, to do things with, to share experiences with, just something like a travel companion, somebody that you could go to Paris with and be romantic with. And I am a romantic at heart. That might seem shocking to most of you, but I guess allowing myself to let go, to being dependent on another person when I've never had that luxury in the past from a boyfriend, it would be hard for me to think that I could ever allow myself the quote unquote risk of falling in love. But now, if it happens, it happens, and so be it. I think about that episode of Golden Girls, the scene where the girls were talking at the table and Dorothy, was talking to Rose and about Charlie's death. And she says, "Well, what did you do the next day?" And of course, Rose has a funny response. "I buried him." And Dorothy says, "After that, you did what you had to do to put your life back together." But look at the situation. Blanche lost her husband. Rose lost her husband. Of course, Dorothy's cheated on her and she was divorced. But the girls built that bond, that unit, a cohesive family type environment in the house that worked. And when Mama Jean was alive, it would be happy hour, but it would be early. It would be just Jean and myself and maybe a couple of others. And we talked about a group of us buying a place so that we could create our own version of Golden Girls. And I said, I'm all about that. I'd be all for it, but I better have my own bathroom. I am not sharing a bathroom with anybody else. And I think that's the hard part too. I've not had a boyfriend in over 10 years. And when you go that length of time being single, you become reliant upon yourself. You realize that you can take care of yourself. There's really nothing you can't handle. It can be a challenge sometimes, but you get through it. It's going to be hard for anyone to convince me that they could make me feel that I could entrust in them all that I've invested in myself. I know that I can trust myself, and I know that I'm capable. I have nothing I need from anybody. I can do it myself. So if I decide to date someone again, become serious, develop a relationship, maybe even get married, it will be on a very different set of terms than what I would have expected 20 years ago. I believed that I was going to fall in love with my best friend. We would get married and we would live happily ever after. We would never have any problems. Everything would be perfect. A bed of roses, the yellow brick road. And of course, obviously that didn't happen. But there is strength in knowing yourself and how capable you are in taking care of yourself. I really do appreciate all of you who are in relationships and who have that strong family unit. And I wish you all the best. But I just don't think that is not in the cards for every person on this planet. I do love being single, and I do love connecting with men. I love my friends. I love that environment, but it's really hard to let go when you've been free and single for so long. And I do know that there are people who do wind up marrying someone out of fear of being alone. But if you work through that and you're in agreement and you can work through those parameters of that type of relationship, more power to you. 1,000%. I wish nothing but the best for everyone involved in that. I just don't know that I could consider that an intimate relationship versus a friendship relationship. I was talking to my mom on the phone the other day, and she was telling me about this gentleman that lived there. He had inherited a lot of money from his parents at the time of their death, and he didn't really have a job, but he just kind of walked the roads and picked up cans. He was a single guy, very independent, really didn't have friends or anything. Well, he had passed away and no one had noticed it for about 3 or 4 days till after his death. And she just felt that that was so horrible that nobody had noticed. And I just kind of like, well, he died doing what he always did. So his independent, single nature, I don't think he really had any issue with that. And what was it, once again, the Golden Girls, when Rose says to Dorothy, how would you feel if you dropped dead and nobody showed up to your funeral? And Dorothy says, well, this is probably a personal thing, but for me, dropping dead would be the bigger disappointment. And I would agree. It wouldn't matter if you're surrounded by people or if you're alone by yourself. To me, you're still alone when you die. Even if people are all around you, you're the one that's dying. They're not dying. They're watching you. I just don't know that that would be something that bothers me. I know it would be wonderful that as you're taking your last gasp of breath, that you hear people that you love telling you that they love you. But they can't go with you. That's the line right there. And God damn, this is a depressing episode, isn't it? I'm sorry, guys. It is. But it is about the strength of being an independent person. And it is about thinking about how, well, first of all, when I started this episode with that famous quote, all of us have loved in one way or another. You love your family members. You love a boyfriend, a girlfriend. You love your friends. You love your pets. You love certain foods. There are different levels and types of love. I don't think we always have to equate a good life, a happy life, with a romantic relationship. I don't see how we have to view that as a fundamental of living a happy, healthy life. And we've talked about this before too, remember? If you're single, you reduce your risk of being murdered by like 99% because most murders are domestic. It's husbands killing wives, wives killing husbands. Right there is about 98% of murders around the world. There's one positive for being single right there. And of course, I'm talking about trust. Trust is the cornerstone of relationships, right? And I have been burned so many times that, yeah, it's going to be a very difficult thing for someone to impress me to give up being single. So if I ever am in another relationship, you all can be really impressed with that person because they managed to convince me that they were worth me entrusting in them to develop a partnership versus a solo career. There's always dick to suck, right? I can't believe how time flies when we're having so much fun. Can you? Another week, another episode of Alan After Dark, just gone like that. And I just want to say thanks for keeping me company, and I hope that I've kept you company. And as always, remember, live, love, laugh, and be real. We'll see you soon. Thank you.